So in part 2 here, we're going to test the RESTful service and then generate a WAR file. Once we have that WAR file, we can then start building out a container that runs it as a web application. So just to be clear what's going on here, if we go over here to the controller, this is the method that's going to get called when we hit the endpoint. And again, the endpoint is going to be the whole localhost 8080 with /greeting. And the default parameter will be passed as world. We'll play around with parameters in a moment. And notice I've got a little blue circle here, meaning it's a breakpoint. So one of the things we'll do here is go to Gradle tasks, go ahead and do a right mouse click and say run this build task. Now if you can't see this window in your IDE, there's a few things you have to do. One of them here is going into Windows and then say show view and choose other. And you're going to see here, if I scroll down a little bit or scroll up, Gradle executions. So you need to have that in order for the GUI to show up. Now if all is successful, you'll see the build successful. Now I'm ready to debug. So I'm going to right mouse click over here and say debug as Java application. Kind of hard to see. Maybe if I kind of scroll this over, we'll be able to see the actual menu here. So run as Java application. So just to be clear about this, we're doing a debugging here. So I'm going to right mouse click again and say debug as Java application. At this point we can choose, say hello, go ahead and click OK, and the application is running listening on port 8080, and we're ready now to go hit this endpoint. So let's do that now. So I think you know what we need to do here. I'm going to go to localhost 8080 / greeting, and that should trigger the debugger here in Eclipse. So yes, I want to open up the debugger perspective here. And sure enough, I'm actually hitting that breakpoint. So let's kind of open up this window here, and you can see that it's working. Now, I didn't pass any parameters. I just said /greeting. And so you can see the default value of world here for the name parameter. So if I hover over it, you'll indeed see that world is the default parameter. I'll go ahead and just continue running with this button over here, resume, F8. Go back to the debugger. And sure enough, the JSON string came back. So that was successful. We were able to get hello world to come back as a JSON string. The next step here is to create a Docker image using that WAR file we're about to generate. So we're going to actually copy the WAR file to my Linux VM where I have my Docker tooling so that I can build that image. And the way I'm going to build that image is simply run a couple commands, which you'll see me do, a docker build command. And what it will do is it will marry the Java Tomcat image with the WAR file to produce our containerized app. Now if you look at the documentation, what you need to do is apply a plugin to create your WAR file. So here you can see some of the syntax we'll need to do this, and we're going to basically copy this and paste it in the appropriate spot in our Eclipse Spring project. We'll go ahead here, click on this section here for perspective, and choose the ordinary Java editing perspective, and we'll go in here to the appropriate spot into this build Gradle file and add the appropriate entry. So this looks like a good spot for that. I'm going to scoot down a little bit and insert that syntax we saw earlier. So there you have it. We just needed to apply a WAR file, and we're going to now rebuild the project, and hopefully we'll get a WAR file out of it. Go ahead and save this file and close it all up and do another build. In addition, let's go ahead and copy out this provided runtime, which supports Tomcat. That's what gives you the WAR file. Let's go ahead and copy that into our build.gradle. So go down over here to the build.gradle file and paste that over here as one of the dependencies. Looks like I didn't copy that correct. Let's try one more time. Go ahead and close this off and go ahead and refresh some of this stuff. So I'm going to go to my build here and do the refresh button. Hopefully now we will see the ability to build a WAR file. So we'll go ahead and open this up, and sure enough we got a WAR file here, and we'll just say go ahead and run that task, and it will produce a WAR file for us. So the next step is to go get this WAR file and copy it over to a Docker equipped machine to go out and build out that image using the WAR file. So we'll go to this complete project. we'll go to the build folder, the libs folder, and sure enough, here just a few moments ago, we built out our war file. So that was successful. In the next demo, we'll go ahead and copy that over, build a Docker image, run it, and test it in a running container.